Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Mark, you okay?
I have some problem because I should have this hearing in my ears, but I have in my speakers, and that's why I just reconnect. It's not working.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love how Chloe just does her lessons from the bed. That's amazing. She's just like actually in bed. It's brilliant. I think we should all do that next week.
I know.
Yeah. How are you doing, Shema?
Everything is fine. Everything
is fine. Okay, so I'm not going to wait any longer because we can log in as they log in. Okay, so what I put some exercises on the group for you guys last week. I think I put one page out there, and it was literally just identifying some key signatures to warm our brains up because we've got to start doing them in tenor clef now. Hello, little person. Hi. Hi.
Say hi.
Hi.
Oh, she's
Say hiya.
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 Daddy and Mommy.
Yeah, Mummy's in the living room.
She's gorgeous. You must look like your mum, do you? You look like your mum. Yeah, gorgeous girl.
Are you going to do some music with Daddy?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, she's closed the camera.
I saw.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It shows.
Well, how many sharps does C have?
Daddy, it's
How many sharps does C have?
None.
There you go. None.
Well,
Go on. Right. You go and get ready to go to the shops.
That's more than the little twos now, right there. Right, okay, so what we're going to have a little look at is this exercise that I put up last week initially. And it was identifying and writing some key signatures. Can you guys all see that? Chris, I don't know if you had a look at last week's lesson, but we had a little go tenor clef. Yeah, did you manage to catch up?
No, I haven't caught up yet. I had a little nosy.
Yeah, well, no, it's fine. Don't worry. Just because we have to start writing some key signatures in tenor clef. But yeah, you'll be fine. I think it's basically you change where middle C is, and then everything else is relative to that. So you'll be all right. Okay, so we've got some bass clef and treble clef ones to warm up now. Usually we have a little Kahoot at this, don't we? And we sort of warm our brains up a bit. So I imagine some of your brains have got a bit mushy. I know mine has. Chloe emailed me in the week, didn't you, with a question, and I was like, of course it is. My brain has got to sleep. So we'll go over that, Chloe. We'll have a look.
Okay.
Okay, so if we look at the top one with the bass clef, the main thing in this exam is to sort of always make a note of the clef or a mental note or, you know, whatever, because it's really easy to get something wrong if you're looking at the wrong clef, isn't it? If it asks you to identify a note and you're in a different clef, it's a totally different note. So that's dead important. So just to refresh our brains then, how do you figure out what key this is in then? If we've got 4 flats, there's a little trick, isn't there, that I showed you? How do you figure that out? Who can tell me?
Me.
Go on then, Jack.
Father Christmas gets drunk after 8 bevies, and you do it in reverse for the flats.
But there was an even easier one, isn't it? Which note do you look at on this to figure out which key it's in? Do you remember Andy showed us it and I was like, oh my God, shortcut.
Nope.
It's the middle one.
Is it what? Sorry, Matty?
The middle.
Not
No.
the middle, but you're kind of thinking in the right direction. So on the flats, what we do is we look at the penultimate flat. So the second to last one, and that tells us what key we're in. Yeah? So this one here, the second to last flat, can you guys all see my screen? So the second to last flat in the sequence is going to be this one, isn't it? So what note is that if we're in bass clef?
A.
So what key are we in, Chloe?
A flat.
A flat. Remember, if it's got flats in, we're looking for flats, aren't we, with the exception of F. So what you do is you look at the penultimate flat and it just tells you what key you're in. You just have to make sure you clock the clef, obviously, or that might confuse you. Okay, so in relation to sharps, what we do is we look at the line or space above the last sharp, and that will tell you what key it's in. So the last sharp here is a G, because we're in bass clef, so we've got all cows eat grass. So what comes after G? Don't say H.
I was going to say H.
You were going to say H, I saw you. Yeah. So
A.
what,
A.
A. So we're in A. So we've looked at the last sharp in the sequence, and then we raise it up to the next line or space. So for example, if it was on a line like this one, we bring it up to the next space, and that tells us what key we're in. So quick as you can, guys, I want you to just put those answers in there. So if we're on the flats, we're looking at the penultimate one. If we're on the sharps, we're raising it up to the next line or space. So quickly tell me what keys they are. So you can write them in if you can. If you can't, make a note with a mental note or whatever, and we'll have a look.
Do you want us to just tell you them?
I want you to put them in if you can. You guys can draw
Oh,
them
okay.
on the screen, can't you?
Yeah.
I can't, so you can put them in. Well done. We've got, I thought we had L then. I was going to say, what key is L? E flat, fabulous, well done. So don't forget, if it's got flats in, it's going to be something flat with the exception of F. Good, that's the one, guys. Yeah, you got it. Good.
What is that?
Excellent, yeah, so C sharp, great, yeah. Somebody's been very fancy and red and typing them in, I like that, very neat. But I think generally we've got the idea there, haven't we, guys? That's, you know, that's all right, figuring out what they are. Okay, so the next one is treble clef. Exactly the same thing, you just use the same method. So for example, this sharp here is on a D, so you raise it up to the next one, so it will be E. This one you look at the penultimate. So, and again, quick as you can, put them in for us. That was a tricky
Oh, my mind's gone blank.
Your mind's gone blank. Okay, so we're in treble, Matty. We're looking at the penultimate one, so the second to last one. So it's this one. So what note's that in
Oh,
there we go. Someone's put it in for you. It's a B flat. Good. So then this one, the second to last in the sequence is that one. So D flat. Well done. Brilliant. Okay. So this is a tricky one. We've got 6 sharps. So it's not C sharp because that would be 7 sharps. So what key is it? Yeah, good. F sharp major. Brilliant. Are you back with us, Matty? Does it ring a bell?
Yep.
Good. Okay. So whoever's in that like brown colour, you're on fire. I don't know who's who, but well done. So the next one again. This is on an A, so we bring it up to the next line or space. B, fantastic, well done. And then this one, it looks, yeah, everything is flat there, so it's C flat. And then the final one then, again, we look at the penultimate flat. So this is the last flat, so we're looking at this one. Not C flat, have a look at that one again, green. So this line here on the treble clef, the penultimate one, isn't a C, is it? What's that penultimate one there? G flat. Well
I did mean to put G.
Ah, okay, well done. Red, well done. Is that you, Shamak? You're usually red. Yeah, well done. Green, is that Chris? Oh, Jack is green, and Chris, are you the dark brownie one? Well done, Matthew. Okay, so are we all good on identifying key signatures? That's all right, isn't it? That's fine. What we have to worry about now is to write some in. Okay, so I can't write on this, which is really annoying. I'm going to try.
If you go up to the top where it says, yeah, you are viewing, well, it won't say you are viewing Kelly Harvey. It should say view options.
Annotate, I've got it.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, okay. How? clever is this? Right, so when we're writing in key signatures, guys, what we need to do is to write in our Father Christmas gets drunk after 8 beers, and then we figure out what's sharp in the key and we simply write them in the correct order. We went through the order of them last week, so let's see what you can remember. Okay, so this time then we're looking for A major. Show of fingers please, how many sharps has A major got in it? Well done, guys. So show of fingers, Shemak, I can't lip read. I'm afraid you're on mute, okay. So what we do is we find A, we skip the one before, so we cancel out D, and then it gives us F, C, and G. Okay, so these always go in the same order. They're like little steps, aren't they? So if you look at this example here, where it's got lots of sharps in this C sharp up here, it's like, it's in bass clef, but it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And it starts on the top F, okay. So guys, somebody put the first sharp in if you can, A major, where does the F sharp go? And don't forget, we are now in bass clef as well. Yeah, somebody circled it there, clever. Shemax took the shortcut, I like that. It's already there, isn't it? So we put the 3 sharps in. Okay, B flat major then, I think, did we do that one as well? Somebody circle that one for me. Well done, Chloe, you've got a 2 there, yeah, good. Yeah, so 2 flats in there would be good. So that would be this example here, yeah. And so on and so forth. Are we all happy with the order of the sharps and flats and how to actually write them in, or do we need to move over that? You're not happy with it?
Oh, I could do with a little refresher on it.
A little refresher. Okay, let me just see if I can. So what we need to do then is they always go in this order, Jack. So we've figured out that A has 3 sharps in, yeah? So they always live in this order. It's the circle of fifths. So what we've got is it will always start with F, it will then number 2 will be C, and number 3 will be G. So the first F goes on the top F that you can find on a bass clef. Can anyone put a sharp in there for me? On the top F? On the bass clef? Yeah, that's good enough. It's, yeah, okay. And then what we want is a step down to the C. So the first set of them is in a 2, F and C. So we want the C to be in the second space. Well done. And then what we do is we move up again to G.
All right, I've got it now.
Yeah, so they come in that little sequence. If you have a look at this example, this F sharp at the top, they go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and that's how they, depending on the amount of sharps and flats you're putting in. Okay, the flats, however, go in a slightly different way. So we always start on a B flat, but this time we work backwards. So we go B, E, A, D, G, F, C, F. So the B will be on the middle line. Well, we're in bass clef, so it won't. It'll be on the second line up. And then they go in this little step sequence here. So it goes 1, 2, back down, 1, 2, back down, 1, 2, back down, 1. So it's like 2, 2, 2, 2, that way, okay. So let's just pick out a couple then, and I'll pick somebody to put the key signature in if you can, or at least tell me where they are, okay. So we'll start with Matty, please. Matt, could you put the key signature in there to B flat in the bass clef? If you can, if you can't manage it, I know it's tricky. If you can't manage it, just tell me where they go. Well done. So we're in bass clef, yeah. So we go B. Oh, have a little look at that again. So you've put it on a C there, haven't you? Because we're in. Well done. Yeah. Yeah, so get rid of this.
Hello.
Sorry, my mistake.
Oh, okay. So yeah, sorry. So get rid of this green B. We put that on a C there. Okay, so that one's fine, isn't it? It's got two flats in, which we know B flat has, and they're in the right place. Okay, let's see if. Okay, let's see if Shemak, can you do B major on the treble clef, please? That is this example here. Where's Shemak gone? Is he there? Yeah, so we're looking at B major, please. This one. So the first thing to figure out is how many sharps are in B major. Give us a show of hands, guys. Tell me how many sharps. Well done. And now you have to make sure they go in the right order. So F, C, back up to the top, G, D, A, and then back up to the top and E. So they go in this like little sequence like that, don't they? So if you can, Shemak, if you can't, just tell me where they are. So it hasn't got any B flats in, has it? B major. We're looking at sharps because it's not B flat major, it's just B major. That's okay, don't worry, take your time. No, so the sharps always start at the top, don't they? The top line or the top F on the stave. Good, brilliant. And then, so your C will go on the C space below that. And then we're back up to G, sitting on the top line in the space. So above that, that's on an F, isn't it? Just above that would be G. Okay, so you've put those in the same place as the first two, haven't you? So this F here needs to be on top of the stave. I know it's tricky, isn't it?
Sounds easy.
It's tricky to put them in, I know. So we should have F on the top line, then C, then right up to sitting on top of the stave, G, D, and then A, and so on and so forth. Are we all okay with putting key signatures in now? Do we think we'll all
Yeah,
right?
it's not too difficult.
Yeah, we'll have another practice. I don't think it's the figuring out how many sharps and flats are in the key anymore. It's the actual writing of them on the stave, isn't it? We need a bit more practice at. But this handout is actually on the classroom, so please make sure you have a go at that. Now, for the tenor clef, it's slightly different because, and I'll show you why. Let's get rid of this a second. I'm going to see if I can play a short video, which I've never done before. That's exciting, isn't it? So let's just see. Right, okay. So let me know, guys. I'm going to see, can you see my browser there?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just a quick what we sort of did last week. So I'm going to play this. It's only a minute, 4 minutes long. So let's see if you can get the sound.
Now, while we might not come across it all the time, there is just one more.
Can you guys hear that? Yeah, so it's only 2 minutes.
Yeah, sound's coming through.
Yeah, okay.
More clef that it's really good to know about, particularly if we're ever going to look at or learn about orchestral music, because there are some orchestral instruments that make use of this clef from time to time, and it's known as the tenor clef. And just the same way that the alto clef was useful because it allows to show a kind of range of pitches that sat nicely in between the treble clef and the bass clef. We've got a similar sort of thing here. And in fact, the range of pitches that the tenor clef shows compared with the alto clef isn't that different. But there's sometimes when it's just a really good clef to use and it suits the instrument we're working with. The cello, for example, when it goes right the way up into its highest notes, those go really quite far off the top of the bass clef. And so the tenor clef can be a useful one to just help express those higher notes on that instrument. And on the trombone as well, we often use the tenor clef to represent the notes that it's going to play as well. So how does this one work? Well, in fact, it's very, very similar to the alto clef that we were just looking at. And we've got this C clef again. It's just that it's moved slightly. So with the alto clef, it was nicely in the middle of the 5 lines, whereas here it's just a little bit higher. But it, in fact, indicates exactly the same thing. And so just the same way that the middle of the clef in the alto clef showed us where middle C was, that's exactly the same here on the tenor clef. And So we'll see that it's slightly higher, indicating that it's in fact not the middle line anymore, but this fourth line up, which is going to represent middle C. And so the difference isn't that big, but it's useful just to represent some of these ranges that again sit in between the treble and bass clefs. And in terms of reading the clef, it works exactly the same way as all the other clefs that we've looked at, in that as we go up and down through the lines and spaces, we'll be able to find all the letter names in their normal order. So starting on our middle C, which is in this clef represented by the fourth line of the stave, we can go up into the next space and find a D. And then the top line will be an E. Equally, going downwards, we'll find a B occupies the third space up, and the middle line is an A. The second space up will be a G, and the second line here will be an F. The bottom space will be an E, and finally, the bottom line will be a D. And so while we might not necessarily, unless we play one of these instruments which uses the tenor clef sometimes, we may not become as familiar with it and as good at reading it as we would with the treble clef or the bass clef, but it's still really good to know about, because if it comes up and you need to be able to work out what a cello or a trombone is playing, knowing about the tenor clef is dead easy, even if we just have to count up and down through the lines and spaces to work out what note it's asking us to play. Now, while we might not come across it all the time, there is just one more clef that it's really to count up and down.
That was that, guys. So basically, Chris, what we did last week was we went over tenor clef, and what is happening basically is we've moved middle C, because some of these instruments go out of the range of the treble and slightly out of the range of the bass and slightly into the treble. So rather than reading two staves, they've just made another clef basically. But there's a little trick to this, isn't there? If there's a quick way to sort of read tenor clef, and that is that this space here,
through the lines and spaces to work.
This space here is usually occupied by a C, isn't it? This third space up. But this time, C is just above that. So if you want a quick way to read it, you look at what should be there. So if you're trying to read this line, you say, okay, what should have been, what's there, that's what it is. Or you can think that the lines are deface. Yeah, so you either look above, no, hang on, you look below, don't you, and see what that should have been, and that gives you the note. Or you can think that the lines are deface going up. But the tenor clef is slightly different when you're writing key signatures in there. So why do you think that is? Why do you think the tenor clef might be different when you're writing in key signatures? They come in the same order as in Father Christmas Gets Drunk After 8 Beers, but in terms of the placement on them in the stave, why wouldn't it work the usual pattern?
Because they've all shifted up off.
Everything's shifted up, hasn't it? So when we get to that, when we go farther up here and then go Christmas and then go Gets, we're off the stave, aren't we? The G is nowhere to be seen because sitting on that top line is an F. So when we get to the Father Christmas Gets, we're gone. So we need to place them slightly differently, which brings us to, whoop. Bear with me a sec. Oh, I'm an idiot, I've left it on my browser, haven't I? Okay. Google Chrome. So that brings us to, I don't know what I've done with that handout. I'll just quickly show you. But basically we start from the bottom this time, which is a bit weird, I know. So this time, this is actually the thing I copied before. Hang on, let me find this screenshot. Sorry guys, bear with me. I thought there it is. That's what I copied before. There now. So basically, because we are off the stave somewhat, we then have to start at the bottom. So I'll just share this with you again. This is going well, isn't it? As usual. Where is it? Hold on. Don't tell anyone I'm this unprofessional, will you?
That's all I'm going to tell people now.
Yeah, I'll try not to.
Okay, so alto clef, which is where C is in the middle, the pattern is exactly the same. You have to just do the steps up and down. On tenor clef, it's slightly different. So this time we go in an ascending pattern. So can you see the way, so we're in G there, we've got one sharp in this tenor clef, we're in G major. But instead of putting the F on the top of the stave, this time we've started at the bottom. That's an F on the tenor clef, isn't it? Because it's D face on the lines. So this time we've got this pattern. If you look at this one here, that's got all the sharps in. It's like a two-step pattern. So we've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And it moves like that because, as Chris rightly said, if we stick to the same method of inputting key signatures, we're off the stave, so we can't do it like that. So the tenor clef is the only one that starts at the bottom and then goes up, rather than starting at the top and then going down, okay? So as you can see, if you're identifying key signatures, the same thing applies. There's still the same amount of sharps and flats in there. You still look at the one above. It's all exactly the same. The only thing is they now start at the bottom. Okay, so if you quickly want to have a look at, you know, G major, which is the first one, it's got F sharp in it. So on treble clef, it's the top line, starts on the top of the stave, that's fine. In bass clef, it's the top F on the stave. On alto clef, it's the top F on the stave. But once we get to tenor clef, it's now the bottom F, which is the second line up because it spells D face, doesn't it? Yeah, is that clear? So it's important. I know Shemak's got his head in his hands there. I know it's tricky, isn't it? But it's important because you might, if you get a question on the tenor clef, you might get the key signature right. So you might have the amount of sharps and flats in correctly. But then if they're positioned in the wrong place, you won't pass. So it's really important that they're in the right place. So every single one of them starts on the highest possible F on the stave, except for tenor, which starts on the bottom F on the stave. Okay, is that clear? Everyone got that? Yep, very good.
I just wanted to ask, why is there a H? Because it goes C, G, D, A, E, H.
It must be German, because in German, the H is our B, and the B flat. No, hang on, let me. So if you say H in German, it's B. If you say,
Oh, right.
yeah, if you say, it comes from Bach, B-A-C-H. You know what I mean? It's called the Bach.
Yeah.
But the Germans do have a H chord as well. But it's
I
actually
knew that.
It's actually B. You knew that?
Yeah, because we had jokes about, you know, why doesn't it go any further than G? And then I read up and I found out that the Germans use H.
Yeah, they use H. So their B flat would be called B. In fact, it should be there somewhere. No, it's not. But their B flat would be B, and then they call B H. It's all very confusing, but it's B.
In Poland, H is as well.
Okay. If you ever see H, it just means it's B. which you can tell, can't you, from the 5 sharps? We knew that anyway, we knew that. Okay, so that brings me now to the exercise, which is in the grade 5 theory book, which is this one. So last week we had a look at just identifying notes on the tenor clef. So we figured out that this is A, and we filled them in slightly. This time it's asking you to do a couple of things. Now we'll come to the second thing in a minute, but initially write the key signature and tonic chord of each key. So the tonic chord just means chord 1. So they've given you an example there in red. Yeah, the first key signature in there is E major. So it's got 4 sharps in it, starting from the bottom because we're in tenor clef. And then it's giving you the tonic chord of the key, which is just chord number 1. So we've got an E major chord in there. Okay, so the next one then is D flat major. So how many flats does D flat major have in? Let me just put some text in there. Hang on. So
It's 5.
let's have a look, Chloe. Who thinks it's 5? Who thinks Chloe is correct?
Yeah, it's 5.
It's 5 flats, isn't it? So this time, because we're in tenor clef, we need to put our 5 flats in slightly differently. Let me just have a little look at the thing we were just looking at before. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, good. So in this, where do we need to start then in terms of the flats? What order do they come in? Go back to this. Sorry guys, I'm really rubbish at this, aren't I? Okay.
Is the order of the flats? Big Edith gets drunk after. Big Edith always drinks gin constantly.
Yeah, well, big eaters and
Steve Rice special.
big eaters and drinkers get chronic flatulence is another one I like.
No, it's a Steve Rice special. You can't discredit the Steve Rice special.
So can you guys all see this now that with the key signatures on? Is that what you're looking at? Yeah, so if we go back to that and we have a little look at D flat there. Where's D flat? There, okay, so we can see that the flats are not affected. They still start on the, if we're looking in the tenor clef, they still start where they're supposed to start. And it's exactly the same pattern, isn't it? It's only the sharps that start from the bottom. So if we go back to our exercise now, which is...
Sorry, Kelly.
Yeah?
I don't think I could see what everyone else could see then.
Okay.
Yeah, mine had like a tonic and
Okay.
what was it? The other one.
I'm going to look at that in a sec. Okay, so... It's really weird. It sort of works when it wants to work. Okay, I'm just looking at this exercise again. That's what we should be looking at. Stop share. Okay, I'm going to share again. And then we want to look at this. Can you guys see that exercise from the book? The grade 5 theory book. Can you see it? No?
No, it's not on there.
Okay, just give us 1 sec. But anyway, what we need to do is start looking at putting in some key signatures in tenor clef. Okay, now we should be able to do it. You see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so it's asking us for D flat major then. So again, you just do the normal patterns. It's got 5 flats in. Where do we start? So I think Jack come up with something good before, didn't you? What was the phrase? Big O gets drunk. What?
Big Edith always drinks gin constantly. Just the F at the end.
Yeah, so what we need to do first is to put our 5 flats in then. So I'm just going to annotate this again. So I'm going to put in our Father Christmas gets drunk. So we know it's got 5 flats in. We know this is the order it comes in backwards. So we've got B, E, A, D, G. So where does our first one go in then? Where's our B on a tenor clef? Bearing in mind that where the line goes through is middle C. If you just want to put a dot on it, guys, or something, rather than trying to draw a flat in there, you can do that. So where would the first flat go in then, B flat?
Is it the third space?
Yeah, well done, Chloe. Yeah, so it's just below C. Great, okay. So the next one is then we need an E. So where's E? So the lines spell out D face, don't they? So where's E? Yes, Jack, I can see you, but I can't. So not there, whoever green is. Yeah, that's good. So it's E. And then the next one is A. So where's A? So remember the line spelled D face. So where's A? Yeah, but on the line, don't forget, not in the space. That kind of looks like it's in the space, but it's got to be on the line. And the next one is a D. So we're well done, red. Where's D? Then, if that's C on through the middle line, where's D? Yeah, good. And then we just need to put a G in. So where's G? So we've got B, E, A, D, G. Well done. Yeah. So then what it's asking you to do is to put the tonic chord in. So it's just asking you to put chord 1 in. Now, if you've got your key signature right, which you have on this one, you should literally be able to find the root note and then just stack them up in thirds. So what's the root note then? If it's asking you to write D flat major, what's the note you're looking for? It's there.
D.
D, well done, yeah. So what you do is you find D on your stave. So where's D? Where's D? Yeah, and then you stack them up in thirds. So you can start up there or you can start down there. Yeah, I think green is probably the best idea. So we keep it on the stave and then you just stack it up in thirds. So we've got 1 on the D and then we've got, yeah, and then the next one as well. Good. So that's your tonic chord. So you got your key signature and your tonic chord in there, okay? Next one is A flat major. So how many flats has A flat major got in it?
4.
4, well done. So basically, you do the same as this, don't you? Only you leave the last one out. Because that's got 5. So put them in again. So you got your D, E, A and D, B, E, A and D. So if someone wants to put them in. Anyone? If you can put some dots in there. Good, yeah. And then you put your tonic chord in, which in this case starts on an A. You've got the right flats and sharps in there. So where's your A on there? If the line's spelled D face. And then you stack them up in thirds. Excellent. Okay, so we're not going to look at the minor ones today. We'll look at those next week because I think it's a bit of information overload, isn't it? And finally, we've got B major there. So this is a good one to practice because it's sharp. So show of hands, please. How many sharps has B major got in it? Well done, Jack. Well done, Shamak. Well done, Chris. Yeah, all good. And this time, because it's sharps, we don't start at the top, do we? Because we come off the stave, so we have to start near the bottom. So we put them in that order. Father Christmas gets drunk after 8 beers. So where's F? If the lines spell out deface, where does the first sharp go in? So the lines spell out deface, moving upwards. So you need to put an F sharp in there. Where's F? Well done. Who's purple? Purple's smashing it. Well done, purple. Yeah, and green and red. So we've got our first one in, an F. Then we need a C. So we know where that is because, and then, so we've got our set of 2. Then we move down again. We need a G in there. So G is obviously after F, so it's there. Someone's put, hang on, we've got loads of different dots in there. So we should have an F, a C, and then down to G, which is the bottom space, and then a D, good, so a D, yeah, excellent guys, so you got the right idea, and then all you do is you find your root note. So where's B? Where's B in there? B is in the space, and then you stack them up in thirds. It's a bit difficult for me to see here because I've got loads of dots, but I think you've got the right idea, haven't you? So you just got to remember the rule is tenor clef starts at the bottom, all the other clefs start on the highest depth possible on the clef, on the stave, but tenor clef is slightly different in that it starts on the bottom. So I think that's enough of the brain work for today. We will look at some minor keys next week. Has anyone got any questions at this point? We're all happy so far? Okay, so we'll come off that, and then there was something else I wanted to show you today, which is this. Can all see that, guys? So when we're talking about tonic, and when it asks you for the tonic chord, it's just talking about different degrees of the scale, and these are the official names for them. Okay, so when we're looking at the first degree of the scale or the root note, it's known as the tonic. Supposedly the most important of the key is the tonic because that's where all the harmony comes from. The second degree is the supertonic, so that's his little mate with a cape on. The supertonic. Exactly, Jack is demonstrating the supertonic right now. Yeah, then we've got the mediant, which is the third. So that's middly, isn't it, mediant? Excuse me just a sec. Hello? Oh, hi, I'm just in the middle of an online lesson at the moment. Could I possibly ring you back? Or could you ring me back? Okay, fabulous, thank you. Thanks a lot, bye, bye-bye. Sorry about that. So the middle one is medium. And then we have the fourth degree of the scale, which is called the subdominant. Then we have the dominant, which is the fifth, the submediant, and the leading tone. So there's no reason, there's no way to learn them except for to memorize them. So if you're asked for the tonic chord, obviously it just means chord 1 of the key. Yep, so if I asked you, for example, Jack, you're looking like you know what you're on about today. If I asked you for the median chord, which chord would I be looking for? Chord 3. Yeah, it's just the proper name for them. So if we go back to the question we've just been looking at, so everybody got that down or took a picture? I'll put it on the group in a bit as well. So if we go back to the exercise we were doing, which is so annoying. Sorry guys, this really doesn't like me sharing things for some reason. Can you guys see that exercise? No? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Give us 1 sec. Can you see it now?
Yeah,
No.
is that the same one from before?
Yeah, so what it says is it's asking for the tonic chord as well as the key signature for each question. And basically what you're doing is you're writing in the key signature and then putting in chord 1 because it's the tonic, okay. Is everyone clear with that?
Yeah.
Okay, now there was something Chloe emailed me about during the week, and just before we finish I said I would clear it up because clearly there's 2 ways of looking at this, but it's about the note groupings. So when we've been looking at key signatures and time signatures and things over the last few weeks, I identified one as 6/4, which is this one. You see that? 6/4, yeah, you'll see that. So it's a bit weird this because it can also be described as, trying to make it bigger, there we go. It can also be described as 3/2 because 6 quarter notes is the same as 3 half notes, isn't it? So there'd be 3 minimums or 6 crotchets in there. But it's to do with the grouping. That's how you figure out the difference. So this one is 6/4 because we're in groups of 2. So it's kind of even. It's not a... So let me just show you an example of 3/2. Okay. Put this in it, just watching me faff about. Right, so if we have a look at an example of 3/2 there, basically what you're looking at is the note groupings. So this was the question here, this one. Can you see my cursor?
1 E and 2 E and 3 E.
No. So we're looking at the example that says 1808 next to it, this one here. And I identified that as 6/4. Now, there is 6 quarter notes in there, isn't there? If we look at it, it's got 1, because they're both half for 1. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there is 6 crotchets in there. But if we look at the groupings, that is in groups of minims, isn't it? There's 1 minim in every group. So therefore, there are 3 minims in this bar, which makes it 3/2. So even though there are 6 quarter notes in there, because it's grouped like this, there is a minim in each group, 4 quavers. Each equals a minim. Does that make sense? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, so you were very right, Chloe, to question that. And it is 6/4 and it is 3/2. But because we're looking at the groups, you can very clearly see in that bar that there are 3 groups there, can't you? The way the notes are grouped together. And in each group, there is a minim, or 2 crotchets, 4 quavers. So we just wanted to clear that up before we finish, okay? So what we're going to be looking at next week, folks, is some minor keys in tenor clef and some minor keys in the other things. Has anybody got any questions? Can you unmute yourselves for a sec? I'm just going to ask some questions a sec, okay? To make sure you've got it. So we can all talk now. Right, okay. Shemak, please. What is the first degree of the scale called? What's the name for it? So
Tonic.
it's the tonic. Well done. Chloe, what is the third degree of the scale called? It's the middly one, isn't it? The middly one. So the
medium.
The medians, yeah. So that's the middly one. Okay, Jack, please, with the actions, what's the second degree of the scale called?
Supertonic.
The supertonic, brilliant. Okay, Liam, please, what's the 7th degree of the scale called?
I don't know.
The leading note, because that leads back home, doesn't it, to the octave?
Oh, right. Sorry, I didn't get a picture of it.
It's all right. You just have to, I've only just given you them, so you just have to memorize them. It's just in case in the exam you see a word that you don't know and it says the subdominant and you go, oh, what does that mean? Okay, Matthew, speaking of subdominant, what degree of the scale is that one, please? 4. 4. Well done, guys. And then we've got the dominant, which is 5, and we've got the supermediant, which is the 6th. Okay, so if you do anything for next week, please, I would like you to remember those, memorize them, and also have a little practice of those key signatures that I put up on the group, okay? Has anybody got any questions?
Yeah, just dead quick.
Yeah, no problem.
What was the 6th one? So it's tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant.
Yeah, I'll share it again. I'll see if I can
Dominant.
share it again. And then you can take a photograph or I can put it up. Can you see that?
Nope.
Okay, go.
No, yeah.
I
very, very professional.
Very professional. I actually hate this thing. What you'd have to do, you see, is you'd have to upload it again to your screen before you can share it. You can't just share it, which is really annoying. So let me again. And then I can share with you. Okay. So we got the tonic and the supertonic, which are quite closely related. They're little mates, aren't they, down at the bottom. Then we got the mediant, which is the middly one. Then we got the subdominant, followed by the dominant. So they're kind of little mates as well. One leads into the other. And then we got the submediant, and then the leading tone. And the leading tone leads back to the octave, so that one leads home. Okay, there's no like way of, you know, I always think of them in like groups of 2 really. So the tonic and the supertonic go together, and the mediant's in the middle. Subdominant and the dominant go together, and then we got the submediant and the leading tone at the end. Okay, so just memorize those for next week, and please have a little go at the group thing. Okay, anyone else got any questions? Okay, let me just ask a couple more then. Okay, Chloe, on the if we're writing in a sharp key, where do we start? Where on the stave do we start? The top or the bottom?
Can you repeat it again, because you broke up? I just had the first one.
Yeah. If we're writing a sharp and a clef, where do we start? At the top or the bottom?
The bottom.
Yeah, good. So the others at the top, aren't they? The only time we start on the bottom F is when we're in tenor clef. Okay, Matty, please. What do the lines on the tenor clef spell out? What was it? Can you remember? Oh, it's all good. Yes, Chris?
The face.
The face, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think we've got one for the lines, really. I don't. We could for the spaces. We could think of one, couldn't we? So what would it be? If it's D, it would be the lines would be E,
G, B, D, F.
E, G, B, D, F.
Yeah, every good boy deserves football.
So it's only 4 spaces, isn't it? So it's just every good boy deserves. He doesn't.
Oh yeah, I'm doing the top notes.
Yeah. So it'd be on the spaces. Every good boy deserves, or we could think of another one, couldn't we? Because it seems a bit unfinished. That. Come on, what can we have for E? Jack, you're good at these things, making up stuff, aren't you? Missing the songs and the applause and the appreciation.
I've got a million of them coming into my head, but I don't think they're really appropriate for the lesson, to be honest with you.
I don't know, I've just looked over and I've got a book called Eat Beautiful, so we'll have eat, and then we need G.
Grapes.
Eat grapes.
Before dinner.
On the tenor clef, then, we've got eat grapes before dinner, and we've got the face. Okay. Yeah, so that's really good though, isn't it? Because you'll remember it. It doesn't matter what you use, how you use it. You will always remember what it is now. So that'll help me out as well, because I don't read tenor clef. I've read alto clef a bit, which is for viola, but I was a really, really bad viola player. I only started playing it because the violin was really, really, really bad and sounded like I was strangling someone, so I thought it might be a bit more forgiving because the tone's lower. But no, I was still really bad at it. So
did you just move up in lower tones to where you thought, hey, this doesn't sound too bad?
Yeah, it's a bit, when you're a kid playing a violin, this is when I was a kid, like when you're a kid playing violin and you think, oh God, it's like, and I just thought a viola might be a bit nicer sounding because it's the one in between a cello and a violin. So I just thought it's not as high pitched, not as screechy. But yeah, I was still very bad at it. So yeah, not a string player. I'm a bass of strings, but you know. Okay, folks. So are we all good? It's a lot to take in today, isn't it? New clefs and new things, and yeah, we're all happy. So again, I will stick this lesson up on the classroom. Have a practice of writing in your key signatures. I think you're really good at identifying them now, but you need to think about writing them in. And memorise, go on, let's all say it together. Tonic.
Supertonic.
Supertonic.
Mediant.
Mediant.
Subdominant. Dominant.